I'm Alexis Scott, your downtown neighborhood news reporter. Since April 2024, I've covered $2 million in public funds awarded to pay for this downtown hotel. I told you about allegations that a federal document had been falsified, and I told you that this was the first time this type of money had ever been used to incentivize a hotel. We also told you about a lawsuit that was filed seeking to reverse the awarding of those funds. Now, 6 Investigates has obtained depositions of city leaders in that lawsuit, which reveals conflicting accounts of who knew what about the altered document and how politics may have overrode policy in approving this deal.
I'm senior neighborhood news reporter Suzanne Stevens. That altered FEMA document was actually just a screenshot used in a presentation seeking $2 million. Now that image is right at the center of depositions we obtained thanks to a lawsuit filed by a competing hotel owner, Ajit David, the same businessman who first flagged the FEMA map. Meanwhile, the company that got the $2 million, Elevate QOF, says it did nothing wrong and calls the lawsuit a competitor's attempt to damage its business. At a recent city council meeting, things really heated up after a resident played a portion of a deposition.
In other words, would it be fair to say that falls again then over on the politics side?
Yes.
That short clip is now being shared by critics who want Mayor Paulette Guajardo removed from office. But not all depositions are complete, including the mayor's. Still, we've gone through every testimony that's been given so far, and together they tell a much more complicated story. Let's begin with City Manager Peter Zanoni. He was caught on a recorded phone call giving his honest assessment of how the project was pitched before council ever voted on it.
They catch the scheme that, okay, FEMA floodplain, that's infrastructure. You know, the fixing the bottom floors. Right, it was altered. And then when you read the entire PowerPoint, it's so obvious that the reader or the writer wanted one to be led to believe that the FEMA was just recent, even words like recently released and this and that.
But when Zanoni spoke in front of council, his tone shifted.
The issue for staff is that there's still some uncertainty in some of the information, and we're working to get that.
Under oath, he said he did inform certain council members.
I know I told the mayor. I know I told Councilman Roy, Councilman Pusley.
But when asked to give more details, his answers started to waver.
I'm not 100% certain, but I would suspect I did. I would have, because that was the at issue.
He also admitted he never told the full council.
I didn't sit down with all council members, all of them, either individually or collectively, to let them know.
According to Zanoni, the item landed on the council agenda because 3 council members requested it. But here's what's unusual. Staff didn't recommend approval. Zanoni says that's never happened before in his tenure. At stake was $2 million in Type B sales tax funding, money meant for economic development. And publicly, Zanoni said he supported spending it.
The merits of the $2 million, the city staff supports what the Type B recommended it for.
Assistant City Manager Heather Hurlburt had concerns of her own, expressed in emails to the Economic Development Corporation. Back in February, she wrote she had the impression the mayor is pushing this and warned that council needs to do the right thing. A month later, she asked the EDC to bring the project back onto the agenda and to flesh out the language to better reflect the board's support. Mayor Paulette Guajardo denies ever pushing for the project or asking anyone to place it on the agenda.
I was never told the document was not legal. The city manager is a constitutionally sworn officer that swears an oath to defend the laws. If he believed the item was any of those, he had a duty to inform the entire city council, to not just select a few public officials.
In private, Zanoni called the altered document a scheme. Under oath, he says he didn't tell the full council. The mayor says she didn't know. And yet, $2 million in taxpayer money was approved.
Besides the forgery allegations, there's another legal issue. Did City Council actually vote twice on the same ordinance? Under the city's charter, an ordinance requires 2 readings before it becomes law, but 6 Investigates found the incentive changed between votes. So let's break it down. On February 20th, the first reading said the $2 million was for FEMA flood zone costs. But by April 23rd, the same ordinance was presented as funding for street-level retail and public space. Under oath, Assistant City Manager Heather Hurlburt admitted the first reading was brought forward incorrectly.
And then we know your first reading, of course, said all the FEMA language.
Exactly. It was brought forward incorrectly, yes.
In short, the ordinance number and dollar amount never changed, but the justification did. The charter violation alone could invalidate the entire incentive. So, what happens now? Well, the case is pending in district court. In downtown, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Alexa Scott, Chris 6 News.